In 2024, we moved to Asia and we lived there for 8 months, and it was not as we expected it to be. And I would like to go through some of the major struggles that we faced and why we ended up coming back. So quick update for everybody who doesn't know. Back in 2024, we made the decision to move our family, our 1-year-old son, over to Thailand. And that was where we were going to set up a new home. We planned on making Thailand our new home. Before we went, we decided to do our own due diligence. We flew out there, just me and my wife, and we basically had a checklist, and we had to make sure that we understood everything before we actually moved all the way out there. We looked at potential places to live, what life was like over there. We did everything that we could to make sure everything was set, because this was a big decision. And we loved Thailand. It was amazing. Frankly, I haven't had a vacation in 12 years, and that was like the first time where we were out there working, but it felt like vacation. Just Thailand was just amazing. So we made the decision to do it. So we got back from Thailand in end of December, and then we made the commitment that we were going to move. We bought the tickets and flew out on April 6th, and it all kind of fell apart from there. I would like to say that living in Asia was one of the best moments of my life, but at the point of this recording, being home for 3 months, I don't feel that way. Frankly, it feels like I woke up from an 8-month-long nightmare. And I wanted to make this video because I've had a lot of people ask questions about what it was like moving out there, why we came back, and what they should be doing to prepare to do the same thing. And unfortunately, on social media and on YouTube, we see a lot of people who post the lavish lifestyle of being an expat. They don't really talk much about some of the really hard things and some of the harsh realities of doing it. And I'd like to give just a different insight on it. So first up, like why did we end up going? We wanted to move to Thailand because we just wanted to experience something different. With the business, I don't need to stay in America. We have the freedom that we can move around as much as we want. And so why not move to the other side of the world? Lower cost of living was really enticing. I thought that's what I was interested in. It seemed like a more relaxed way for us to live. It seemed like a really cool opportunity for our son to be in a different world and to learn a different language. So we really just wanted to give it a shot. And at the end of the day, it was like, why not? Why don't we try this? So we ended up preparing by just getting rid of all of our stuff. We were able to downsize to just 6 suitcases total. So we lived out of 6 suitcases for 8 months. And that was probably the coolest experience for me, was realizing that just don't need as much stuff as we think that we need. We did just fine living out of 6 suitcases. It was great. We move out of our townhouse. We spend a few days with my parents in Utah to say our goodbyes because we weren't planning on coming back. And then we got to the airport and we did it. And the reality that I didn't make the right decision set in as soon as we got to the airport. The biggest, the stupidest thing that I did wrong, and I beat myself up for this, is I did not do my visas correctly. And I went in under the assumption that we could get to Thailand and we could figure out the visa situation while we were there. And that was the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. So first things first, if you plan on moving and being an expat somewhere else, you have to make sure that your visas are in check. Otherwise, you're going to be screwed. So we get there, we get into the country. Because the visas weren't done correctly, we were able to have 30 days in Thailand. And the first 30 days in Thailand were great. We had a great time. Theo loved the beach, met some amazing people, but we had to figure out what we were going to do next because the visas weren't going to be done and fixed in the 30 days. I had to think of something else. So every single day I was just fighting, trying to figure out how can I get these visas figured out so that we can stay longer. And it just didn't play out that way. So we decided, okay, well, we're out here. Let's move to Malaysia. So we were able to move to Malaysia. We were able to live in Malaysia for 3 months. We were able to get 3 months there. And that was where I was able to kind of figure things out a bit more and kind of work out the visa situation a little bit better. It still wasn't looking like it was going to be able to work out in time. And the visas, in order for us to stay long term, were going to be a lot more expensive and a lot more work than I planned for. So again, stupid on my part. So, all right, let's go to the next country. While I was in Malaysia, I had a really good friend who he runs his business. He's another expat, a location independent entrepreneur is what I would call him. And he's been living in Taiwan for 6 years. And Taiwan has a really cool visa program that allows U.S. citizens to basically live there and run a business. So we're kind of working through the process of setting up a representative office of my business in Taiwan, and that would give me a work visa. We could stay in Taiwan for a couple of years. Taiwan was pretty cool as well, but that wasn't going to get done in time. We had to get out of Malaysia, so we hopped over to Vietnam. We were able to spend 3 months in Vietnam. And the timing of this is hilarious. When we got to Taiwan, Thailand just announced this new visa program called the DTV, which is the Destination Thailand Visa, which essentially gives you 5 years. It gives you a 5-year visa, which seemed like that was like the perfect visa for our situation. And we fit the bill. We met all of the qualifications. And so we applied for it, but our time in Vietnam was coming up short. We had like a few weeks left and the visas were still not done in time. So we had to leave. And so we hopped over to the Philippines while we waited for the visas to finish. And our time in the Philippines, we said, okay, we're done. It's time to come home. And I'd like to explain why. So first off, the amount of stress that I was under for those 8 months was the most amount of stress that I've ever felt in my entire life. And this is coming from running businesses, opening businesses, closing down failed businesses, and having to live in another countries for that duration of time. That was the most stress I've ever felt. I was starting to get ulcers. I was losing my hair. I couldn't eat. I couldn't work out. So where did the stress come from? Well, it started with the visas. The other stress was the business. The business was not steady enough for me to be in a completely separate time zone, basically 13 hours ahead of the time zone here in the States. So what that looked like was me having to work at 3 a.m, come home, take a little bit of a nap, and then get back to work again 11 o'clock, midnight some nights. So the lack of sleep and the early mornings and just the crazy work schedule, that compounded my stress. And then just like the lingering stress of knowing that like the safety of my family is on my shoulders, that was overwhelming for me. Because, I mean, frankly, we were homeless. We were homeless for 8 months. We didn't have a place we could call home. We were hopping from country to country. And that was really, really scary for me. And I got to give credit to my wife, because not once was she scared. Not once was she stressed about this. She put so much trust in me to make sure that our family was safe. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. There was also this feeling of isolation. Yeah, with social media, you can connect with people, and we were able to call our families, every couple days. So we were able to stay connected that way. But being in another country where nobody speaks the language that you speak is really hard. Casey started dealing with feelings of isolation because our son was, just over a year old. And so she really didn't have a support system to help raise our son. So that was really hard for her. And the business took a hit. The business struggled a little bit because I was under so much stress trying to figure out where we're going to live. I couldn't give 100% to the business anymore. So it struggled. And that was another massive stress on my shoulders, because I got payroll. I have employees. I have to make sure everybody's cared for. So the weight of the world was on my shoulders for 8 months. And there were other nightmares that kind of occurred during our time there. In Malaysia, we were moving over to Vietnam, and my son's tourist visa had one number wrong. And so we couldn't get on our flight. But we're at the end of our 90 days. And so we overstayed in Malaysia 2 days waiting for the next flight. And so we had to go through a nightmare with your immigration, basically proving that we didn't intentionally overstay. Like, we're trying to get out of the country. So that was a nightmare. When we moved from Vietnam to the Philippines, we got hit with monsoon. So our flight was delayed. So that was really, really stressful. And all that stress compounded when it came to a head when we got to the Philippines. We got to the Philippines, we were exhausted, and we get to the place that we were going to be living next, and our Airbnb kind of fell through. They didn't provide the right information for us to come stay there. And so I'm fighting for an hour with security, just begging for us to get in. So now I feel like I'm going to throw up, because are we not going to be able to get to our Airbnb? And are we going to be on the streets of the Philippines. Like it was a nightmare. And so that all kind of came to a head. At that point, we were like, we can't keep doing this. And I think that we kind of lied to ourselves thinking that, oh, if we can just get to Thailand, it'll be okay. You know, while we were on our flight to the Philippines, our DTV visas to Thailand got approved. So like perfect timing, right? We could have like just rerouted and just got to Thailand, but we decided to just park in the Philippines for just a little bit and then go to Thailand. But what happened in the Philippines, it was too much. It was too much. We just couldn't do it anymore. So when we finally started accepting the fact that maybe this wasn't the right choice, we started realizing how much we actually missed our family in the States. We started realizing our son needs his grandparents, he needs his cousins, he needs his aunts and uncles. And there's no guarantee that if we got to Thailand that life would calm down at all. We didn't know that it was going to get better. What happens if I have the same amount of stress that I've had for this same last 8 months? So we booked an emergency ticket from the Philippines to the States. Luckily, there's a direct flight from the Philippines to LA, and then we just went from LA to Utah. So it frankly wasn't really that bad. That flight was so hard on our son, and it breaks my heart thinking about how tired he was. The jet lag was bad for him, trying to get back on a sleep schedule here. That was hard. So I would like to say that living in Asia was one of the best experiences of my life, but I can't say that. And it is no fault of the countries themselves or the peoples themselves. Like the people were wonderful. The people were probably the best part of our experience out there. It was all me. I take full responsibility for our decision. But this is what I want other people to carefully consider when you choose to live that expat life that you see on social media. It's not sunshine and rainbows. It is fucking hard. Now, if I had the visa situation figured out, would things look different? I don't think so. Probably not. It would probably be a little bit less stressful because we're not, illegal immigrants anywhere, but it was still really hard. Now, we still have our DTV visas. We could go back to Thailand. We want to go back to Thailand. Probably not to live there, but we would love to spend, 6 months now that we have everything kind of straightened out, but not for a long, long, long time. So we've been back in the States for about almost 3 months now. We're settled in. We have a new place to live. We're closer to family. Our son is speaking words now because he hears the same language, so he's able to pick up on words. He loves his family. He loves his cousins. So life is good. And frankly, I regret doing this. I had some amazing experiences of going to the Buddhist temples and meditating with the monks and learning from the monks. That was a really, really cool thing for me. That was probably the best thing, but I don't think I would ever do this again. Now, if you're a single guy who's got a good savings, who has a steady job, you're not trying to run a business, but if you have a job that's online, purely remote, then hell yeah, I think this would be awesome for you. But if you have responsibilities, if you're trying to run a business, like you're the owner and you have to make sure that the business is running and you have a kid, I can't confidently say that this is a good choice. But the way that I work and the way that I think is I have to find out for myself. Like if we made the decision to not go to Asia, I think we would have been thinking about it our whole lives. Like, oh, we could have been thinking about what could have been. But now that I've experienced it, I can safely say, all right, I've been there. I don't want to do that again. So a little bit of a downer video, I know. But what I went through for 8 months, I would not wish on anybody. Go on vacation. Go on vacation to Asia. Like, dude, check out Thailand, check out Malaysia, check out Vietnam. Maybe don't go to Manila, but these places were wonderful and they were great. But because we were living there, we didn't really even experience any of the tourist stuff. We were too busy trying to live there as like locals. So we didn't even experience the really cool tourist things. So I think just go on vacation there. Go on vacation for a couple weeks or a month or two. But don't plan on making it your home base. It's really hard. So that's that. If you have any other questions about expat life, feel free to hit me up. But yeah, the next video will be more uplifting, I promise. We'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming.